This is Digital Health Today, episode 34.
It really doesn't matter how much money we raise. It doesn't really matter what kind of cool technology we build. If we miss the human connection, the seeing each other as humans and seeing ourselves in each other to practice empathy, we really miss the whole ride.
Welcome to Digital Health Today, the podcast focused on the leaders, innovators, and technologies transforming healthcare today and tomorrow. Find us online at digitalhealthtoday.com.
This episode is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible is offering a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. With over 180,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find something you'd like. Enjoy your free audiobook and 30-day free trial courtesy of Audible. Sign up today at digitalhealthtoday.com/free. Welcome back. This is Digital Health Today, the place to be to get the insights of leaders working to make the healthcare of tomorrow available today. I'm your host, Dan Kendall, and this is episode 34. If you've spent any time on the health innovation threads on Twitter, you will no doubt have seen the emoticon-filled tweets of Nick Adkins and the thousands of tweets made around the world with the hashtag Pinksocks. I'm really excited to bring you this episode because this podcast, unlike others that we've done, this interview was done the very first time I spoke to Nick. Normally our guests are people I've had the opportunity to work with or at least met prior to having a conversation on the show, but not with Nick. We connected via Twitter and then via email and then on this podcast. So what you're hearing are some of the answers to questions that you may have asked Nick yourself. In fact, some of the questions are questions that you asked because some of you sent questions in before I actually recorded that. Before we jump into the episode, I just wanted to make a couple of quick reminders. This episode, number 34, is airing on July 18th, which means that it's just 2 days to go until the release of the industry access phase of the .health top-level domain. What's that, you may ask? Well, dial back and listen to episode 33 with Jen Lannon. You can find that at digitalhealthtoday.com/33, and you can hear exactly what the .health extension is and how you can get priority access by being a member of our digital health community. Just to avoid any doubt, we don't get any royalties or payments for your purchasing a .health domain, but I do want to reiterate that this is available because this is an important opportunity to provide a unique destination for you and your business on the web. Go grab your domain name with the .health extension today. All the instructions on how to do that are on the show notes in the episode. We talk about it on the podcast, and if you're listening to this after the 20th of July 2017, it's not a problem. We will update the website with the information on how to skip the application process and get prioritized access to a .health domain for yourself. Also, just one other piece of good news that I had to tell you, and really I need to thank you for making this possible. You may have seen some of the tweets I sent last week about some recognition that this platform, the Digital Health Today platform, we received some recognition from Analytica. In the first year that we qualified, Digital Health Today has been recognized as one of the most influential health tech publications globally. I'm really pleased that we're making such an impact by sharing the insights from leading innovators and organizations. We placed in the top 100, and while that's a great achievement in and of itself, I'm especially pleased that we placed in the top 20 publications, coming in at number 19, along with publications like The Guardian, The Economist, The Independent, huge organizations with a lot of writers and a lot of resources at their disposal, and we managed to place right up there with them in the top 20. So thanks very much for making that possible. The website Moby Health News, which is owned by HIMSS, came in at number 1, and you should definitely check out their website and subscribe to their newsletters. And there were a lot of other great organizations listed alongside us. So thanks to all the individuals and publications who are leading the conversation on health tech globally. And thank you, our listeners and followers, for making this possible. As members of the digital health community, we could not have an impact without you. If you didn't give me feedback, ask questions, suggest topics, if we didn't have the sponsors who listen and support the show, this show just wouldn't be here. And this sort of recognition and your feedback continues to provide more motivation to do more work and create and share the platform and continue to make an impact. Speaking of impact, let's talk about today's guest. Nick Adkins is a former suit-wearing executive who was the COO of Vanderbilt Health Plans and a serial entrepreneur in Nashville, Tennessee. After attending the famous Burning Man gathering in Nevada in 2010, he traded in the suit and tie for a kilt and his famous pink socks. He now resides in Portland, Oregon, where he serves on advisory boards, mentors startups. You can often find him traveling the world speaking about the importance of making personal connections, especially in healthcare. As you might expect with someone who has such a strong following and presence on Twitter, we talk about a lot of people who also have a strong following on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter or you're just thinking about joining it, or if you're just curious about people who are using Twitter in the healthcare space, go take a look at the show notes. We have a long list of things that we've discussed in this podcast, and you can find it all at digitalhealthtoday.com/34. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Nick Adkins to the podcast. Nick Adkins, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. I am really looking forward to this. Can you tell me a little bit about the pre-Pinksocks Nick Adkins? I mean, what was the life before there? We want to go into Pinksocks, and we want to go into what you've been doing over the last few years since you went to Burning Man. But give me sort of a vision for life before all that happened.
Yeah, life before that, I was a suit and tie healthcare executive back in Nashville. I was the COO of a couple of healthcare companies, and in 2010, I went to Burning Man for the first time. Burning Man being this large, awesome social experiment, this gathering of 70,000 people in the desert in Nevada for 1 week every year. And I went for my first time in 2010 and came back and decided I was done being the suit and tie guy.
Let's go into Burning Man. I have some colleagues and friends that have gone to Burning Man. I've heard some stories, never been there myself, but tell me what that experience is like. Number one, why you decided to go in 2010 and what you actually experienced while you were there.
Yeah, it's 70,000 people having 70,000 unique experiences for 1 week of every year. Black Rock City, which is the city that is formed in the desert, that becomes the 5th largest city in the state of Nevada for one week every year.
So it's not technically a city, but until this event happens, then
right. And then for 1 week of every year, it's the 5th largest city in the state of Nevada. So 70,000 people from all over the world come to the desert, make this city, and then after a week, it vanishes, and there's no trace left by the time it's all said and done.
And this is not just, I mean, you say you camp, but I mean, people bring in all sorts of things for this. I saw something recently. There was a guy who bought a 747, and he's been redesigning this into a nightclub and dance studio and everything. So is the main thrust music? What are you really getting out of it when you're there?
Yeah, it's all of the above, right? So, I mean, there's everything, people coming in, just walking in with little pup tents, everything to RVs and custom buses and all kinds of wild design things. So it's music, it's art, it's a sense of community. It's, like I say, it's 70,000 people having 70,000 unique experiences. So whatever it needs to be for them is whatever it is. I mean, one of the big draws, obviously, is the music and the art. Artists from all over the world come and build large art installations that just are mind blowing to see these things in the middle of the desert. It's quite an experience.
And there's some traditions in going there, right? There's some things that are sort of a level of social expectation that people have. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the city basically survives on 10 principles. And you can look all this stuff up on the Burning Man website, but there's 10 principles that all the citizens of Black Rock City kind of sign off and make this social contract and say, we're going to adhere to these things. Things like radical self-expression, radical self-inclusion, radical self-reliance, leave no trace, gifting, which is kind of one of my favorite principles out there is the principle of gifting. Gifting is kind of really the impetus behind the whole Pinksocks movement.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to, is that's one of the key things. It's gifting out of the true sense of gifting is with no sense of expectation of receiving anything. You don't go there thinking everybody's going to give me stuff. You think about what I'm going to give.
Yeah, certainly. So gifting at Burning Man, or also called the playa, gifting on the playa can be anything. It can be someone's made a bracelet or a necklace, or they want to give you some bacon or a cold PBR or a back rub or paint your toenails. Just, it can be anything. And like you said, there's no expectation for reciprocity. So here in the default world, in our everyday lives, if somebody gives you a gift, you almost have this reaction, this knee-jerk, instinct to, well, let me give you something back. There has to be some quid pro quo. Well, gifting at the truest sense of Burning Man is simply accepting the other person's gift. That's your gift to them, is saying yes. Someone wants to give you something, you just share space with them and accept their gift. And it's something magic that can happen in those moments of shared space and connection where you allow yourself to say yes and don't assign any expectation or judgment to the gift. Just simply enjoy sharing space with someone who you've never met before. And that gift is, a small archive of a moment in time that you met someone and you shared space with them. And it's a good reminder that, hey, we're all in this thing together.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It can be a big mental challenge to that feeling of reciprocity when somebody does something for you, you feel like you need to do something back, and it can actually be quite empowering and fulfilling to just learn how to accept that generosity,
Right.
and just appreciate it, and just focus on the appreciation for the person and their effort or the thought they put behind what they're doing instead of turning to something. Because I mean, you can always turn to something later about passing on that feeling. And so when you're giving something again in the future, you remember, and it's reminding you what that was like when you received something. What were some of the things that people gave you when you were out there?
Oh man, I've got all kinds of, Burning Man swag. I mean, the most popular ones are necklaces, bracelets. People make little custom pieces of jewelry, little tokens. Some people make custom stickers to give away. The best thing I ever got was, I have this friend that I met via Burning Man. I guess he's 77 years old now. He went to the Playa for his first time also in 2010 at 70 years old. He was a retired art professor from the University of Tampa. Taught creative design. We had met online after Burning Man in 2010. And so we actually met for the first time in real life on the Playa in 2011. His name is Dick Patterson. And one of Dick's hobbies after retiring from being an art professor is he makes really cool custom stringed instruments, funky stuff. So when we met for the first time in real life on the Playa, his Playa gift to me was he had made me a custom electric ukulele that he had totally made from scratch. I mean,
Wow.
It's really crazy. And it's in an old National violin case with these old funky stickers. So it looked like it traveled around the world. And so I was like, wow, so that's probably the all-time Playa gift ever.
So you went there, and what made you decide to take Pinksocks yourself? What was it? What were you going through? What did you experience that you thought, oh, this will be my gift to others?
Yeah, so I've never really given Pinksocks on the Playa.
Oh, have you not? Okay.
Yeah, the way the Pinksocks thing happened was a friend of mine, Andrew Richards, it's at Andrew in Tech on Twitter. He's now the CTIO at Washington State University's new med school, heading up their innovation tech group. He and I had gone to HIMSS in Chicago in 2015. And, before then, we'd done a lot of traveling together. We were trying to raise some money for a startup. And everywhere we went, I always had on these crazy, fun, funky socks. Because when you wear a kilt, you have to wear fun socks because everyone sees your socks. And kind of noticed that the crowd favorites were the pink socks with the mustaches. I was wearing all kinds of different ones: pugs, corgis, tacosaurus, unicorns, Sasquatch, you name it. But the pink ones with the mustaches seemed to be the crowd favorite. So when we went to HIMSS that year, I said, hey, Andrew, look, why don't we just pack our little backpacks full of these socks? And anytime somebody, comes up and says, hey, where'd you get your socks? Well, it'll be an opportunity for us to meet somebody new and, share space and kind of, dent the universe a little bit. And so that's what we did. And one of the literally first people we ran into walking into the convention center was Eric Topol. And I said, Dr. Topol, do you mind if we get our picture with you? And he's like, oh, Nick, I wish you would. And he said, I love what you're doing at your company. And I was like, oh, can I quote you on that? He goes, I wish you would. And I hammered out a tweet real quick on my phone and showed it to him and said, is that good to go? And he goes, yeah, tweet it. I did. And Andrew and I took a few steps, into the conference room, looked down at the phone, and Eric Topol had already retweeted that. So now all of a sudden, here come these two guys from Portland walking into a convention center with 40,000 people in suits, wondering, who are these people in the pink socks that Eric Topol just tweeted? And it's really never slowed down since then.
So you were running a business. You were a COO of a business. You were a suit and tie guy in the humid heat of Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
You went to Burning Man, decided to go out there, and this transformed your life and perspective. Frankly, you're not alone. I've heard a lot of people that have gone through that. As you say, 70,000 people, 70,000 experiences. And it's, I know Eric Schmidt from Google, and a lot of people go there. And actually, that's one of the things that they sort of have almost as like a standard or an expectation, because it does really shape your minds. I look forward to getting there at some point. I'm glad to know your friend Dick went at the age of 70. That gives me hope that it's not too late for me to go for the first time at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever visit the Google campus down in California, Larry and Sergey and all those guys, they the campus is designed around Burning Man. I mean, it has a lot of heavy influence from the city, from the way they display art to the Google bikes that get you around campus, to a lot of the culture at Google has been saturated with the founders and some of their folks going out to apply each year.
So you got rid of all your suits and you decided to start wearing a kilt and really interesting socks instead. I don't know when you got your ears pierced and when you shaved your head, but I mean, this is all happening. And I just bring this up because I find it really interesting. I mean, I am more like a suit guy, and frankly, as you say, you go to HIMSS and there's 35,000, 40,000 people with suits, and you stand out not just in your message, but you live it and you embody it, I think, in the way that you talk. And there's an amount of credibility and sincerity and truth that I think you're able to speak. Did the Burning Man experience also transform what you were trying to do in your professional life, not just in the way you dressed and your lifestyle, but in the way you actually approached the problem of transforming healthcare?
Oh, that's a lot of question there, Dan. When transformative change is happening, sometimes it can happen all at once, and sometimes it can happen incrementally, and sometimes it happens, there's an amalgam of both of those things. And sometimes you don't even know that it's happening, right? There was a big shift, awakening that, hey, I'm ready to do something different. I've done 45 years this way. If I get another 45 years, let's try something different. My big takeaway from the first time at Burning Man was life isn't linear, that it's just, things are happening right now. Life is happening right now, right here. Don't miss it.
Did it change you in terms of the way you approached healthcare?
I'm 52 now, and I tell you that so the last 7 years since Burning Man, the main change was from a business standpoint. I was very, I'm an MBA. I'm probably, if I had to admit to it, probably a little OCD and type A. And I was always, very numbers driven. And so I would look at things by the spreadsheet, right? And always let the numbers tell the story. And, one thing about math and accounting is, there's no emotion in the numbers. They just tell the story. You can look at the financials of any company, and, you really don't need someone to tell you the story. Those numbers tell the story. It doesn't matter how much spin you try to put on it. The math is just always the math. And that's a great way to run a business. And, you can stick to making your revenue targets and, your margins, focusing on those numbers. But there's something that's lost in the numbers. And that is that there is really, there's no human element in that. And so, my shift has been, not so much to focus on the numbers, but to really focus on, how is this really helping people? Not just doctors, not patients, payers. I mean, we're all in this thing together. I mean, we're all people, so what's the human piece here that's going to make a difference? Will the numbers take care of themselves? Man, I hope so. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And that's really the rub, isn't it, for business, and especially for startups. I mean, that have to make numbers, that have to generate revenue. I often say when I'm, doing a talk is, it really doesn't matter how much money we raise. It doesn't really matter what kind of cool technology we build. If we miss the human connection, the seeing each other as humans and seeing ourselves in each other to practice empathy, then we really missed the whole ride, and I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of stuff in the startup ecosystem right now that's being successful. And, you look at some things, I don't want to call any names out, but you'd go, wow, I can't believe they raised that much money. I can't believe they're already profitable. And they're doing these things because they're touching on something that most business types have missed, and that there's something driving us as humans. And that thing is that we all crave connection, that we all want to be seen and heard and listened to. And I think a lot of those apps that are being successful right now are plugging into that, our central need to be connected with each other.
Absolutely. Even when I take a look at what you've done and the people you engage with through your Twitter account and the people that you've reached, and I know you do a lot of speaking now, you really have started to create a global movement here that gets people excited, makes them feel good, and makes them motivated to try to go out and change that story. Yes, we have to manage businesses by the numbers. Yeah, I mean, we have to, that has to be a metric. We can't overlook the metrics, and we need to make sure that we're creating sustainable businesses. But we also need to really have clear purpose. And as Simon Sinek would say, we need to be really clear on our why about what we're doing. And the beautiful thing about healthcare is that there is always a story there about how you're touching a life. When did you start to realize that what you'd done? Well, actually, let me ask you two things. First of all, what was sort of the meaning of Pinksocks, or is there a singular meaning, or is it sort of like Burning Man, then that it's a lot of people having individual experiences about what the Pinksock tribe means?
Dan, you catch on really fast, man. You've got it already. So that's exactly what it means. It means whatever it needs to mean to you, and so there is really no central meaning behind it. I mean, some people say it's disrupting healthcare from the ground up. Some people have assigned that it's about the patient experience, quality, childhood health literacy, Alzheimer's, dementia. There's a group in Wales that uses it for ataxia, to drive awareness for ataxia, which is a rare disease. It just, innovation, you name it, whatever it needs to mean is what it means. For me, like I said, it's the gifting principle. It's just a reminder that once upon a time I shared space with someone. And so I've given away lots of socks, and I've been very fortunate enough to share space and hear some wonderful heart speak from some amazing people in real life. And for me, the socks, and when I wear them every day, and when I see those people wearing their socks, it's a reminder that, yeah, man, once upon a time I shared space with that person, and I can still remember their story that they told me, or I can still remember that smile when they were looking at me and we were smiling at each other. And I know that smile is a gift, and they're going to continue that gift every time they wear their pink socks. They're going to make people smile, and some people that see those pink socks are going to comment on them and say, "Hey, I like your socks." That's that person's moment to have a connection with someone that, had they not been wearing the pink socks that day, the two of them would have missed each other in the universe. So I urge people that, when someone comments on your pink socks, when they see you wearing those, get off your phone, stay on the train for an extra stop, get off your bike, do whatever you need to do to stop, look at that person and say, "Hey, it's good to see you. I'm Dan. What's your name?" And, have a moment of connection. Don't miss that. That's really what it's all about.
And that was the note, actually, that you included in the package you sent to me, which I really appreciate, and just want to thank you here on the air. Because, it was a reminder. I did have the reaction of thinking, what can I send Nick? But then I resisted that because I read some of what you said, and I just wanted to appreciate, as you said in your note, just that appreciation of receiving, and that sort of quiet of receiving a gift from someone who had no expectations of receiving anything in return. And then also, as you also said in your package, about looking forward to an opportunity when I can do the same for someone else.
You wear your pink socks to the grocery store, or on the train, or to the post office, and somebody sees your socks. You make one person smile. Wow. You just gave somebody a gift. You just gave yourself a gift. You gave that person a gift. Don't miss that.
When did you realize that interaction with Dr. Topol at HIMSS in, 2015? Was it 2015? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when did you realize that interaction, and now the gifting that you've done all around the world, has become a movement? I mean, it started with one pair, but it's grown to, I imagine, tens of thousands of pairs globally. When did you begin to realize that actually was a thing?
Well, Andrew Richards, we'd gone to a few more conferences after HIMSS and continued to give away the pink socks. And it was fun, and you were having a great time with it. And then I told Andrew, I said, okay, that's kind of enough. Let's stop. And I said, it's kind of like Fat Elvis and Young Elvis, right? So I want the pink socks to die as Young Elvis and not Fat Elvis. And one day I was on Twitter just going along, and I noticed that this guy over in the Netherlands was tweeting about pink socks, and he was giving away socks. And I was like, what? I mean, here's a guy who'd gone and bought the socks on his own and was gifting them in his community in the Netherlands, and was doing it to help promote the patient experience around dementia care. And I was like, oh, wow. I mean, and we were literally, I was saying, let's just stop the pink socks thing. I saw that. I was like, oh man, I think this thing's gone organic. There's somebody on the other side of the ocean that's gifting socks. And then other people started noticing we're gifting socks, and wow, it just really hasn't slowed down. And someone a month or so ago was asking me, well, Nick, how many Pink Socks tribe members do you think are out there? And I said, well, by my accounting of socks I know I've gifted, and socks that I know people like Eugene at Grants for Apps, at Bear Innovation, and Dusseldorf, he's given away a lot, and Phillips, and my friends Rasu and Mike Vaselli in Denver, and et cetera. Just I know people that are gifting socks. I'd kind of said somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 people, probably, by what I could account for. Then, last month, a few weeks ago, I get an email from the sock company where I buy the socks, and they said, "Hey, we just FYI, we're about to run out of socks." And the thing was, when I decided I wanted to give away the pink ones, 2 years ago, I went to the sock company. I said, "Hey, I want to get a bunch of these socks." And they said, "Which ones do you want?" I told them, they go, "Get out of here." I'm like, "Why?" And they go, "We're overstocked on those pink ones. We're only supposed to have like 2,000 in stock, but when we put the order in, we did it wrong, and now we've got over 20,000 pair of these socks in the warehouse." So they're like, "Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely glad." Okay, so that means in that 2 years we blew through 20,000 pair of socks. And so that's a lot of organic gifting. I can't account for those other roughly 10,000 pair.
We'll get right back to the interview, but first I wanted to tell you about our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Audible.com. I know you love audio, so I partnered up with Audible to get you started with a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at digitalhealthtoday.com/free. Audible has audio recordings of over 180,000 books so that you and I can enjoy them when we're on the go. And let me tell you, this isn't a half-stocked catalog of classic literature. This is the latest and greatest collection of books from the leading minds of today. I'm talking about the books that are bestsellers. I'm talking about the books that our guests recommend. For example, you can listen to Sapiens and Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari that Liz Parrish recommended in episode 30. You can listen to 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel that Michelle Longmire recommended in episode 28. Or maybe you want to tune into The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz that Yuval Moore recommended in episode 27. Just think, with Audible, you don't have to kick yourself anymore for not finding time to read, or feel badly because you keep falling asleep when you're trying to read before bed. Maybe that's just me. With Audible, you can listen while you're working out, traveling, cooking, almost anything you do, Audible can do it with you. So don't wait. Check out our guest recommendations and then give Audible a try for free. Sign up today at digitalhealthtoday.com/free. Now let's jump back to the conversation. So, Nick, aside from creating this movement, and I know you sold your business and you moved to Portland, and you speak, but what else do you do? What's a sort of typical week for you? You're advising corporates, you're advising startups, a little of everything.
Yeah, I spend a lot of my time. I'm on the advisory board of a company called Cloudbreak Health, which is a really good team of people. Jamie Edwards is the CEO there. Cloudbreak Health is a platform that provides more than 650 leading U.S. health systems, hospitals, and other healthcare venues with access to multiple telemedicine specialties and language services. And they're just awesome folks. They've got a product called MARTI, which stands for My Accessible Real-Time Trusted Interpreter, which is real-time video interpretive services. So you go rolling into the HR speaking in a language that's not English. You push a button on the screen, and within 60 seconds, you've got a live interpreter there that's trained in med speak, so they can speak to the doctor, the nurse, the triage team, and help calm the family and the patient down and make that a way smoother transition in the in the ER necessary. And then Connection and Telehealth Delivery Network is the other piece of CloudBreak. So the CloudBreak is the combination of this language access network, which has this Marty product, and then Connection Telehealth Delivery Network, which provides connectivity to all these hospitals around the country for telemedicine services. And so I spent a lot of time in my advisory board role there, helping them with just fostering some relationships and doing some speaking on their behalf.
Do you get involved in earlier stage businesses?
I was involved with a startup here in Portland for 2.5 years that I left about a little over a year ago, and then try to do some mentoring stuff for some startups. But I'm on a couple of these tech innovation mentor panels.
And how about the speaking? I know you're headed over to Europe here in a couple weeks' time, speaking at a conference. Where's that conference being held?
It's in Bucharest, Romania. IC Fest. It's going to be hashtag IC Health, ICEE Health will be the hashtag. It's June 15th and 16th in Bucharest. It's 4,000 attendees from all over Europe, 150 speakers. Good friend Shafi Ahmed will be there. Eugene Brokovich from Bayer. Really looking forward to that. I've never been to Romania.
Excellent. I've heard good things about that meeting. And anything else? Anything else on the horizon? Some of your speaking or engagements that people might be able to run into and meet you face to face?
Yeah, I'm speaking at a HIMSS Georgia event in the fall. Also, I'll be in San Francisco. I believe it's October 10th. Speaking at TEDx San Francisco. Looking forward to that.
Oh, you're speaking at TEDx?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
October 10th in San Francisco.
Excellent. I'm sure a lot of us will tune in for that. I look forward to seeing that video when it comes online. Well, Nick, as you saw a few days ago, I tweeted using the Pinksocks hashtag and asked people for feedback. And I have as I was trying to think about this episode and the opportunity to speak with you voice to voice and share this virtual space with you, I thought, well, let me actually ask some of the other people out there what they would like to ask you. So there's a new part of the program I thought of, which is called Twitter Wants to Know. So I've sent this tweet out. You kindly retweeted it. Several people came back with a variety of questions. So this is what the Twitter sphere wants to hear from you. All right. Can you answer some of these questions for me?
I hope so.
All right. Very good. Well, Christina Wanscher, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly, at Wanscher, Wanscher, wants to know how many countries in the world have Pinksocks in them. Any idea? What's the sort of farthest place that you've been where Pinksocks have been present?
I physically haven't been there, but where I see the Pinksocks show up, if you had to say the farthest point from here probably is Australia and New Zealand. And I don't know the total number of countries off the top of my head, but if you go to the website, it's pinksocks.life. Pinksocks.life. If you scroll down, there's a little animated GIF of a global map, and these little dots will pop up, kind of show you where we know that Pinksocks have shown up and people are gifting and spreading the love.
Yeah, I was on your website the other day. I saw you've actually updated it. You've got some great photographs on there of people that have been wearing and talking about their Pinksocks and gifting and sharing space with each other. Yeah,
big shout out to AJ Montpedit who did the web development. So it's awesome. Yeah, I think the only country that's kind of glaringly missing is Iceland.
If they have any listeners out there in Iceland, they need to get on the Pinksocks tribe here. So get in touch and we'll see what we can do to involve some Icelandic health transformers or whatever it means to them.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some. There's a guy down in Georgia, Joe Wood, Dr. Wood, who is planning on going to Iceland on his way to his wife's from Russia, and I think they're going to stop and do some conference in Iceland. And he's like, hey, I'm definitely taking the Pinksocks to Iceland to tweet a picture out. So
actually, as I'm going through this list of some of these tweets and questions, I see that we've already covered some of them in this. I mean, Raphael Grossman wants to know how many pairs of socks you have, and I wanted to also know and add to that how many pairs of socks you've given away, and you estimate it's well over 10,000, as you say, sort of organic gifting, people getting on board joining the tribe.
I'd say the number it's 20,000, right? So if I can account for 8 to 10 And then we've blown through a total of 20. So I can't account for that other 10 to 12,000, but apparently there's about 20,000 pair of Pinksocks out there around the world somewhere.
Eugene, we mentioned Eugene Borohovich, the American actually who's leading up the Bear Grants for Apps program out in Dusseldorf. He wants to know, when are you shaving your beard?
About the time that he grows his hair back.
Okay.
Eugene, I love you. I love you, brother. Eugene's hair and my hair are not coming back anytime soon. We've got the same barber.
Nice. Aline Noise down in Barcelona wants to know, how has the Pinksocks movement impacted your friend's business? I think actually you know the person who runs the sock manufacturer, the sock company. So has it made an impact to him or her?
Yeah, it's her. Her name is Carrie Atkinson. She's a really good friend, also a burner who I met via Burning Man connections. She lives here in Portland, and I wouldn't say we've impacted her business a bit. She's got a very successful business. She started the company 10 or 11 years ago on her own, which is a great idea. I recommend everybody go to their website, Stock It To Me, and read their story. It's just an awesome story how she started the company from scratch on just an idea. They have, I guess, 40 employees now, and just a great company. But I wouldn't say that I'm not even showing up. So.
Okay, you're not moving the needle for them.
No, they do most of their business wholesale through large retailers like Macy's and Discount Shoe Warehouse, et cetera.
So when you sent me a package of Pinksocks, Nick, I left them unopened until I was with my daughters, and then I opened the package and explained to them a bit about your story and about why I received them and what they meant to me and that sort of thing. So it was a sort of unboxing process we did here at home. One of the questions that they asked, this wasn't sent in by Twitter, but my daughters wanted to know, is matching underwear available?
The answer to that is no. And so a couple of years ago, or a year or two ago, Stock It To Me decided to also offer an underwear line. And they took some of the most popular selling, I think, the 5 or 6 or 7 of the sock designs that were the most popular and said, well, let's make matching underwear to go with that. And one of the first things I did was I asked Carrie, I said, hey, please don't pick the Pinksocks for the underwear line. just
because it's going to show up in Twitter photos all around the world. And you're like, okay, showing the socks is one thing, but so there people showing their underwear.
There's no Pinksocks underwear out there.
Yeah, great. And several people tweeted asking about a spaceship in your backyard. Now, I saw it and I thought, okay, what is this? I thought maybe it was a little a desk thing or something that you might have on top of a table. But you actually, I understand, have a spaceship in your backyard. So can you confirm, have you actually come from another planet to help save the human race, or do you just have a passion for really interesting lawn art?
Let's go with the lawn art. It's I think I may have tweeted a picture once upon a time, or I know Brian A. here they had one in rotation the other day. I guess it was 2011 or 11 or 12 at Burning Man, and one of the pieces of art I saw out there was a spaceship. It's 1,200 pounds of steel, seats 8 people in the round, steampunk spaceship, and I remember sitting in that out in the middle of the desert. And then it's 3 years ago today, actually, because today's date 3 years ago was the day I bought the spaceship, which is interesting that we're doing this podcast on today's date. And you asked that question.
There you go.
So we had what was called the spaceship landing party in my backyard 3 years ago today. Yeah, the spaceship came for sale, and I bought it and put it in my backyard. And it's just been one of the best things ever because my Wi-Fi reaches out there. I can go sit out there in the morning and have my coffee and oatmeal and hang out in the spaceship. If it's raining, I can sit out there and listen to the rain hit the spaceship, and there's no fence from the street. So if you're walking down the sidewalk and you look over at the right time, you can see the spaceship in the backyard. And probably once or twice a week, there's somebody comes knocking at the front door asking if they can go in the backyard and sit in the spaceship. And so, oh yeah. So it's a great way to meet new people, strangers.
It seems like a lot of things in your life, Nick, are about openness and just trying to find ways to engage and connect with people.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this friend of mine, John Sten, is Halcyon, at Halcyon on Twitter, runs a big theme camp at a Burning Man called Pink Heart. And, I get a lot of my stuff from him, the love more, fear less phrase that you see on my truck, El Trucco Sancho. That's like, pick that phrase up from John. Another one he's got is he runs this thing called Hug Nation, and the phrase is, the world would rather hug you than hurt you. Yeah, right. I mean, so think of how
Nice.
we're conditioned with everything negative that we see in mainstream media or even in the Twitter feed, or just life in general gets so much negative energy gets thrown into the universe. We a lot of times live our lives in fear, but the reality is, look, people, they all just want to get along, right? I like the Yo-Yo Ma film, the Silk Road Project, where they travel around the world and they do these different pickup bands in different countries, whether they're in Iran or China or Afghanistan or you name it. What you see is, it's the real world. It's people raising their families, sitting down to have a meal with friends, enjoying a glass of wine, watching their children play soccer, growing flowers in their garden. It's not what we see in the media. All we get fed in the media is everyone's trying to kill us. No, they're not. You travel around countries and you get to know people. I mean, the world would rather hug you than hurt you. And, we have a choice to make. Do we want to live our lives in fear, or do we want to choose love? And so, love more and fear less.
Listen, Nick, I think we've covered most of the questions that I have organized for you. There are 6 questions that I ask all the guests that come onto the program. Can you spare me just a few more minutes?
Sure.
So what is a saying, quote, or phrase that motivates you?
That thing that you're looking for, it's happening right now, right here. I have that written on a chalkboard in my house. I look at that every day. And that's, I combine that with the love more, fear less mantra. And those two things really are my reminder in every now of what's important, what's happening, not to miss it. Life is happening right now, brother. Don't miss it.
Nick, what advice do you have for others who are working to innovate and transform healthcare?
Oh, be true to yourself, true to your passion. Let your heart speak. And your mind is smart enough to help your heart. And the best thing you can do as a startup is to find someone that has a large ecosystem. Like, I always like to look at what Rasu is doing at UPMC Enterprises in Pittsburgh, or Todd Dunn at Intermountain, Andrew at Washington State. I mean, you've got to have the weight of a large footprint that can sustain you in those early days, right? And it can help you deploy and have rapid iteration and adoption and usage. It's really tough just to try to go out and do it on your own. So if you can partner with somebody that's got some mass, that's the way to go.
What book do you recommend to our listeners?
Oh man, that's a tough one, but it seems like I always come back to Casino Healthcare by Dan Monroe. There's so many good books to read right now in the healthcare space, but with what's going on with the Affordable Care Act and this uncertainty around insurance, I don't think there's a better book out right now to help explain how we've gotten ourselves in this mess in the U.S. than that book. So Dan does a really good job with that. Casino Healthcare by Dan Monroe. And it tells the history from 1965 forward to how we built the system that we have right now in the insurance world.
I haven't read that one, but I will have a link on the show notes and encourage everybody to pick that up, and I'll take a listen to it myself. I listen to a lot of Audible books.
Yeah, it's really a must read
excellent.
To understand what's going on.
Thanks for the recommendation. And Nick, I think I know the answer to this, but what piece of tech do you use that you wouldn't want to live without?
Well, I'm going to say Twitter. I don't know if I can live without Twitter.
Nick is NPDX. Yeah, we'll have the link on there. So definitely, that's what I thought you were going to say. And if I gave you a check for $5 million for you to invest in health technology today, where would you invest it?
Well, I think I would spread it around. And the things I'm really interested, obviously, I think telemedicine is only going to continue to grow. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation in that market. So that's only going to the adoption and usage of telemedicine is just going to explode. So I think that's a great place to put your money. I think AI technology is another good one. Virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, another good one. Don't think you could go wrong in any three of those areas.
Excellent. In appreciation of your time on the show, we make a contribution to a charity of your choice. What charity have you selected, and can you tell me a little bit about what they do?
Yeah, Special Olympics, and I think everybody knows what the Special Olympics does. It's wonderful to see people living life with a smile and laughter, and without the weight and burdens that a lot of us learn through life as we become adults. But the beautiful thing about the Special Olympics participants and families and volunteers that are involved with that is putting yourself back in the space of being a child, putting yourself at that magic moment, whatever it was when you were a child, before you knew that there was good and evil in the world, that there's something magical about these awesome people who can live their lives and in the not knowing of all the ugliness that you and I know about. Maybe they don't understand all this negative news, and it's not part of their life. Their life is just about loving each other and having, the sense of we can do this. And when you watch the Special Olympics, it's not, sure, there's winners and first and second prize, but it's the sense of they're doing something together. We're all doing this together, and by doing it together, we're all winning, and how much joy can come of that.
So Special Olympics will make a donation and let you know when that gift has been made. We'll also include a link to that charity on the show notes. So thanks for nominating them.
Yeah, and we're also there's a Free the Yoke movement going on this summer. It's hashtag Summer of Move, which is trying to encourage people to get off of the sofa, get outside, get out, ride your bike, go for a hike, climb a mountain, jog, go for a walk, do whatever you need to do to get up and move, to try to stay healthy. And there's a hashtag Pinksocks FTY. There's a team that Sean Haggerty and a group of physical therapists from around the country have put together as their Free the Yoke team. And they are also the Pinksocks team. And hopefully they win the Summer of Move contest out there for Free the Yoke, because the winner of the Free the Yoke movement is also going to get money donated to the Special Olympics. So the Pinksocks FTY team is also supporting Special Olympics.
Excellent. So let's run through a few ways that people can follow you and keep in touch. So it's certainly on Twitter, Nick, N-I-C-K, is the letter N, PDX. So Nick is in PDX. Pinksocks.life, Pinksocks FTY. Hashtag, or is that an @ sign?
It's hashtag Pinksocks, always one word, always plural, hashtag Pinksocks. And for the Free the Yoke team this summer, for hashtag Summer of Move, it's hashtag Pinksocks FTY, as in Free the Yoke. Yeah.
All right.
So follow that there. I think they're gonna do well.
Oh, brilliant. We'll include some links to that and some tweets and share some news about what they're working on as well. So thanks for nominating them, and hopefully they do win, and there'll be more money for the Special Olympics. Nick, is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners before I let you go?
Yeah, I'm just going to give one more hat tip to Sean Haggerty and that team of PTs that and other providers that involved in that. Sean has also put together a directory, or you will, if he's building it, a list of providers who want to provide pro bono care in their communities. So not to build new, clinics, but for a way for providers to utilize some of their downtime to provide back to individuals in their community who can't afford care. And so follow Sean for that. And if you're a provider that wants to provide free care to people in your community in your downtime, whether you're an MD, a DO, a PT, a massage therapist, you name it. If you feel like you have some time that you'd like to contribute back to your community, Sean has got a database going for people to register, and people in your community can find you and log time with you.
Listen, Nick, I can't thank you enough for being on the program. I really enjoyed this. It's great to meet you and share this space with you, and look forward to having the opportunity to share some real space with you at some point in our travels.
Likewise, Dan. Thank you so much.
There you have it. That is Nick Adkins of Pinksocks fame. Check out his website, pinksocks.life. That's a brand new website that will show pictures of people all over the world gifting and receiving pink socks in the healthcare community. And make sure you also go over to our website, digitalhealthtoday.com/34. We have a long list, probably the longest list we've ever had on any episode, for things that we've covered in this podcast, links to different websites, different companies, links to loads of people on Twitter. So please do go check it out. If your name or your Twitter handle was mentioned on this podcast, you're probably listed on the show notes, so digitalhealthtoday.com/34. And help Nick make more connections by having participated in this podcast. Reach out to him. Find him on Twitter at NickIsPDX. Nick is in PDX. You can find him on LinkedIn and Twitter. They're in the show notes at digitalhealthtoday.com/34. Many thanks to our sponsor, audible.com. Please go onto the website at digitalhealthtoday.com/free and check out a free audiobook, as well as links on all the podcasts to the various books that our guests recommend. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you also check out episode 33 and get your .health domain. Lots of things to remember. Don't worry, if you're on the email list, you're going to get an email with all this information of everywhere you need to go, and you won't have to try to take notes while you're driving or exercising or whatever it is that you're doing while you're sharing time with us here on this podcast. That's all from me for now. Until next time, keep on innovating.